Ash may have forgotten the N-word, but we all know the S in S-Smart stands for spooky. Hail to the king, baby. Spooky Spoilers is back.
Let's go.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hey everybody, welcome to the 4th year of Spooky Spoilers and the 3rd consecutive year of Evil Dead Spoilers. My name is Pappy, I'm your host tonight, recording from Louisville, Colorado, and we're here to spoil Medieval Dead, aka the Army of Darkness. The pod has grown a lot in the past year, so if this is your first Spooky Spoilers, every October me and my co-host pick our favorite spooky movies and talk about them. But speaking of my co-host, let's have the guys introduce themselves. Alright, I want you to say who you are, where you're recording from, and I want an honest answer. I don't want you to try and be funny. It's a two-parter. Do you believe in ghosts, and have you had an experience with ghosts? Let's start with our most recent host. That would be from American Movie, Brett. How's it going, buddy?
It's going pretty well, man. This is Brett from Fort Wayne. Unfortunately, for your first question, it is a yes. And
unfortunately,
ghosts used to be real, but they're not anymore.
You remember?
God, old school. Bring it back. And two, no, I have not specifically. I don't believe, but my brother has. So,
Well, can you share that story at all? Like, what did you see?
that's just maybe that's like a. I don't know if that's a one for now.
Oh, all right. Well, let's
It was
go.
pretty benevolent, though. It was
A
an old
nice
lady.
ghost? A friendly ghost?
Well, she wasn't nice. She was trying to be like a.
a she.
Ooh, a she-ghost.
The landlord's mom died in the house, and she was kind of like trying to be there, trying to make them good young men by like ripping down the posters of the hot chicks on the wall and stuff like that.
Are we
Beating
still
them
talking
with a
about
Bible.
ghosts? What?
Yeah, it wasn't the landlord's
Might be a
actual mom
crackhead.
wasn't ripping their posters down. She was dead. Hi, Brian.
Well-
I hope I got that somewhat right. There's a lot more than that, but I'm just gonna leave it at that.
That did not disappoint. Well, speaking of benevolent ghosts, probably the most benevolent creature to ever raise from the dead was Jesus, and the Christ-like character of this pod is Josh, who last hosted on King Kong vs. Godzilla. Josh, tell us where you're recording from and if you have any spooky ghost stories.
Jesus is not spooky, but
I didn't say he was.
I should be the host of this pod, but for the worst fixing incident since
Don't
Muhammad
even
Ali
bring
and
that
Sonny
up.
Liston in 64.
Dixon.
Anyway, I have never had a ghost experience, but I think there might be something like ghosts that do exist. I think we probably have them all wrong in like media and ways that we like draw about them, but I think there's something like that. So
But Josh, what is your irrational fear? Like, all the Long brothers have the most irrational phobias known to mankind.
That's one of
What
mine.
is your irrational phobia?
listen, I like to rival up against Jordan a lot, but his irrational fear of aliens, like aliens probably exist, Stevie. Like, I don't want to go full Tom DeLonge here, but like think about how many planets there are out there. Like, I think aliens
I'm
are
not saying they're
pretty
not
freaky.
existing, but like to have a fear of it is just strange.
Josh is also afraid of aliens, it sounds like.
Have you ever
Yeah,
looked into
very
the beady
interesting.
black eye of an alien? It's freaking horrible. What's in there? Why is it all black?
Easy there, Dan Aykroyd. But jumping in there, we heard the voice of Money, Mikey Tor, who last hosted on the First Blood episode. Mikey, we got a ton of good feedback from a lot of different people on that episode. Great job, but have you seen a ghost before?
I don't think I've ever had any weird paranormal experience before, but I don't know. I mean, who am I to say if ghosts are real or not? I haven't experienced anything, but I know.
So do you or not believe in them?
Ghost agnostic, it sounds like.
I mean, I think it would be cool if it was real, but
No.
as far as I can tell right now, there's no such thing as ghosts. But I would be pleasantly surprised.
I love how it doesn't have anything to do with like it'd be proof of an afterlife. It'd just be sort of cool.
Yeah.
It'd be sick, man.
The word's still out on science, all right?
Well, what you do all day, man?
You're just both there talking about science. Stevie, you're a man on the schneid. You last hosted Vision Quest.
It was that long ago?
It's been a while. You're not usually on the schneid, but do you believe in ghosts, and do you have any XP with ghosts?
Well, I mean, sure, I believe in ghosts. I mean, I'm sure there's sometimes you hear banging in your house. It's just considered, I mean, maybe like a piece of wood breaking or, just pressures in your house going off. Who knows? But I really haven't had any experience with ghosts, but I did terrify my now wife in college, to the point where she didn't go to sleep from like 11 at night to like 7 in the morning. Long story short, she was having a nightmare, and she like shook me awake to tell me about the nightmare. And I don't remember any of this, but when I was asleep, I said, "He's in the corner. I see him too." And I never came back up. Yeah.
That's awful.
I never, I don't remember any of that. And
oh my gosh.
She still holds it over me.
Lauren's still awake to this day.
She thinks, at first she thought I was kidding, and then she realized, because apparently when I said it, I had a really, menacing smile on my face, and it just threw
Your
her.
best
So, yeah,
Donnie Darko.
that's somewhat my experience with ghosts, I guess.
That story is terrifying.
It is.
It's the worst.
Fun times. Yeah.
Well, luckily, our movie today isn't quite as terrifying as that story you just told. We're in the third part of the Evil Dead franchise. I'm really pumped we got to finish this off. But in true Evil Dead fashion, this movie starts off with a recap of the previous films. Josh, could you get our audience up to speed in case they haven't listened to those episodes or watched the first 2 Evil Dead movies?
Dude, I don't get it. But I can recap it. Every movie he does in the series, he somewhat incorrectly sums up the previous movie, and this plays off of that incorrect telling of the last movie.
It's a fantastic retcon.
I have a question for anybody. Maybe this might be a Stevie one. Well, it's more real. What is Bridget Fonda doing in this movie? She's like a movie star at this point, and she's in the movie for 6 seconds. Does anybody know if she's tight with Sam Raimi or did old Sam Raimi movies or what?
The way that came about is she reached out to Sam Raimi and just was a huge fan of the first 2 movies.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I was like, what is she doing in this movie? Okay, cool. Thank you.
Man, do you get freaked out by every cameo?
No, but she was like a pretty legit movie star at that point.
You think she's above this movie then? Ooh.
She's not, I'm not saying she's above the movie. Already. She's in it for 10 seconds. Go ahead. I don't know why. I don't get why I'm getting ripped on for this. I just asked a question.
Well, Brett, that's a good point because Linda has now been recast for the 3rd time. I personally find the lack of continuity refreshing between the films. It sounds like it gets under your skin a little bit, though. Is that fair to say?
No. Josh the one said it, not me.
Well, how do you feel about it? I mean, you weren't on the first Evil Dead, so Evil Dead 2 is your first Evil Dead movie. This is your first time experiencing that.
And let's remind the audience, it was a staunch no.
Oh, yeah.
I have not forgotten.
Staunchiest of no's.
Yeah, it's probably the worst movie we've ever done in here.
Oh, dang. You know we did Ice Pirates, right?
That was better than this. This was better than Los Enchiladas, though.
Dang.
It's cool, man. I mean, it's weird, but that's fine. I don't have a problem with it.
It's like an anthology, but he just reboots the beginning of the movie every time. I don't know. It doesn't mean anything. It's just like the beginning of a new chapter.
Exactly.
And the key facts stay the same. I thought the claymation, or whatever it is, animated Necronomicon book flipping at the beginning was cool. The hand recap, of course, is important because he'll go on to wield his fancy arm. What is it called?
Chainsaw?
But he chainsaw. But he crash lands into the desert like he did in the end movie, or at the end of Evil Dead 2. And Stevie, who does he run into there?
Well, he ends up in 1300 AD. I imagine, are these the Crusades? Around the time of the Crusades? I can't remember.
There's a bunch of them.
It seems to be like an Anglo, English rivalry of some kind, like English people versus Scottish people, but it's set in like the desert, so I have no idea.
Which I kind of like. I kind of like that just for aesthetic purposes. But he runs into Arthur and his merry band of men who are have imprisoned. I think it's Henry the Red. If that's correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My lord, I believe he is the one written of in the Necronomicon. He who's prophesied to fall from the heavens and deliver us from the terrors of the Deadites.
What? That buffoon? Likely. He's one of Henry's men! Kneel, I say, to the pit with him! I shall soon learn the horrors of the pit!
And also the wise man, played by Ian Abercrombie, does anyone pick up who he was?
Mr. Pitt.
Mr. Pitt!
Speaking of Seinfeld before the podcast, but
oh gosh, nice.
He didn't. Yeah, Mr. Pitt, Elaine's boss, right, for a few of the episodes. Mm-hmm.
For a lot of episodes, and he like makes her take off and on his socks and stuff like that. It's a pretty funny character, but that makes so much sense now. Thank you so much for pointing that out.
He eats a candy bar with a fork and knife, right?
Yeah, Snickers bar.
But it's so funny too because he's like this refined English actor, and he's in this like slapstick Sam Raimi comedy. But we get a different kind of evolution of the Bruce Campbell character, and one of the things I wanted to mention too is that along with Bruce Campbell, Ash, his Oldsmobile comes down, and apparently that's Sam Raimi's Oldsmobile. You know about this?
Yeah, there's 4 of them. And
they're in all of his movies or something.
Yeah, he owns 4 of them. They're in all the movies, and Bruce Campbell, I'm pretty sure, is the only one to drive like Sam's actual Oldsmobile from the first one.
Well, apparently, when they were dropping that, there was almost like some giant accident where the crane that was holding the car like fell into a ravine, and the guy who was like operating it like had to bail at the last second. They had to get a bigger crane to get that crane out. It was freaking ridiculous. But
well, not to jump too far ahead either, but there's a scene where they pop open the trunk of one of those vehicles, and like I guarantee there's got to be some Easter egg items in that trunk, right, Pap?
Oh, there's got to be. Is We Happy? Some like Pulp Fiction type crazy stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see there's like some comics and stuff. I bet if you freeze frame that, and maybe someone can write in.
Oh, yeah. Like when he has the chemistry book.
Yeah, he gets the chemistry
too.
book out of the trunk.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's something in there too. It's just pretty crazy that it's the same car in all of his movies.
Mm-hmm.
But Brett, I want to go back to you because I mentioned Bruce Campbell there. This is the fully formed evolution of this character. We talked about it 3 years ago. Crazy to think about on the first Evil Dead movie about how Ash would change throughout the movies. Did you like this incarnation of Ash better than in Evil Dead 2?
Oh, well, yeah, he was like Bruce Lee and the Terminator all put together. He's like the best warrior in the world all of a sudden. But, I mean, it's better than the other one. I mean, he's confident. He's not screaming all the time. I mean, he was better in this one for sure.
Brad, was this your first viewing of The Army of Darkness?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
He's definitely a lot different. I don't know the first one at all, but, I mean, he just became this, like, awesome warrior, and he's got like a magic satchel that's got unlimited bullets for his shotgun. That's pretty impressive.
Pappy, on the Rambo episode, we mentioned the phenomenon known as like a bad watcher or a bad audience. So like it kind of feels like that. Like Ash's character became blown out to be this like caricature of itself, but it's weird for me, and hopefully you can fill me in. Like, seeing this movie now makes me forget, honestly, what Ash used to be like. Do you remember, like, what did they, like, tone down to make him what he is in Army of Darkness that we see?
He was more of the goody two-shoes, to quote this movie, Ash. Like, he was, I think, more polite. He was concerned about his girlfriend. Like, he didn't really have much of a personality in the first Evil Dead, and he's a little bit more silly. I think he's like going mad in the second Evil Dead, but in this one he's like way more, I don't know, would you guys say, like arrogant and stupid, but also like
he's an action hero.
Yeah,
he's an action hero in this one.
He's like a parody of an action hero, though.
Yeah, he speaks primarily in one-liners.
Did you have a favorite one-liner, Josh?
The one that stuck. I saw this in college, so that was a few years ago. But the movie that has stuck with me. Wow, the line that has stuck with me since then is when he goes, "You got real ugly, baby."
That's my favorite.
That's a great one.
You found me beautiful once.
Honey, you got real ugly.
Well, let's get to who he's talking to in that scene. Our Ash is captured by Lord Arthur, like we mentioned, and he's marched off as a prisoner into the first kind of major set piece. And Mikey, I want to save this one for you because it's freaking awesome. What punishment do he and the Scotsman, quote unquote, face here?
Yeah, like we said, that they get enslaved, and their punishment is to face like a sea hag or something in a pit, and he's got to fight his way out of this pit. I don't think anybody has ever survived in this pit, so everybody just expects him to die. And there's also a bit of like a metal clamp fence or whatever that closes in, so he's got kind of like a set time limit to get out of there. And there's actually like two monsters down there, right? There's like one,
At least there might even be a third that pops up.
yeah, pretty disgusting creatures that he has to fight down here, and he ends up killing them both. And he also like retrieves his chainsaw hand.
Strange
right
one.
That moment where it locks in midair is so freaking epic.
Yes.
I love that part. And
It's real good.
not to deep dive on an early scene, but I think for me, after watching this, I really identified this as a key scene that really like toes the line for me and like determining whether I like the movie or not. Because on one hand, this pit, the first person that gets sent in, like the example guinea pig person, you don't really see what happens, but just this big fountain of blood comes up. So like
Bright red.
Yeah.
Looks amazing.
And you're wondering, like, what are the physics of this? What's down there? But really, it's just like when Ash gets down there, it's a witch trying to punch him in the face with her fist. Like, so on one hand, it doesn't make sense, like physically, but on the other hand, it's like totally unpredictable, which makes it fun to watch. So there's like this line you're kind of writing there.
I also like how claustrophobic the camera work is down in the pit, because it's like really close up on both faces, and it's constantly shaking, and it's super chaotic, and it's really fun to watch. A lot of this movie shot like that.
Mm-hmm. And it reminds me a lot of the trash compactor scene from Star Wars 2, because you have the sides like kind of closing in and that last second monster that pops out.
Mm-hmm.
It's really terrific. But like we mentioned, he's able to escape with the help of the chainsaw attached to his arm. And this is one of my favorite parts of the movie, where he's showing off his boomstick.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. See this? This is my boomstick. It's a 12-gauge double-barreled Remington, S-Mart's top of the line. You can find this in the sporting goods department. That's right, this sweet baby was made in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Retails for about $109.95. It's got a walnut stock, cobalt blue steel, and a hair trigger. That's right, shop smart. Shop S-Mart. You got that?
That tied in one of the new things I think they added in this movie. Suddenly Ash is an employee of S-Mart, and so he gives like a couple one-liners that have to do with shopping there to these people in like the Middle Ages. So it's kind of awkward, but he kind of like, they're kind of all realizing he's the chosen one at this moment. And what does he use the gun for? I feel like he shoots someone and you think he's going to like shoot the king.
The sea hag comes back up out of the pit and blasts it back.
Yeah, there's a great handheld set piece too in the next part, as Ash is kind of like brought in to their leader. He yells, "Yo, she bitch." But my favorite part from that is the right as he blows off that like Deadeye's head, Mr. Pitt like appears behind her. He's like, "You're the only one who can get the Necronomicon," as she's like falling down to the ground. It's freaking hilarious. But Ash rides out with the group, and he's told how he can retrieve the Necronomicon. Do you remember like what he has to do to get the book back?
I think I missed like a little bit of that part, but he has to go into this little wooded area and grab the book and say these 3 words that he's like, yeah, I know what the words are.
I know your damn words.
Say it again. Say it again.
Then he gets chased by something, and he's pretty much invincible over the
what
next 10
do you mean
minutes.
by something, Brett? You mean by evil?
The spirit of the Evil Dead or whatever.
The spirit of Evil
No,
Dead.
he gets chased by Sam Raimi's chintzy camera technique that he's been using since 1981 at this point. Like, that's one of the things in his directing he just keeps going back to. And at this point for this movie, it kind of was like a little eye-rolly for me.
Really?
What do you mean?
Really?
The thing where he's like chasing him with the camera?
It's like, it doesn't make...
That's awesome.
It's cool.
Like, you had to have like the tree splitting, right?
That was cool.
I love the whole movie.
Let's get the yes or no's, I guess.
Do you guys don't think that's played out at all in his third movie? That's like literally the 40th shot.
That's like getting mad at Lucas for incorporating lightsabers in Return of the Jedi.
But these movies are so distant and different than each other. Like, how are they even part of the same franchise if not for stuff like that? Or I'm going to eat your soul, or like the weird things that like connect them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't hate it. I want to go back and watch more Sam Raimi movies now, like the Spider-Man, now that I'm like more heady about like all those techniques he has, and see if like I can spot that in that stuff too, because it probably is there if I was guessing.
I mean, you'll definitely spot Bruce Campbell in there. But thankfully, by the time we got to the Spider-Man, he had a little bit better technical effects. Stevie, there's one part of the movie that I don't like. It's everything that happens in the windmill, which was actually a miniature used in the force ground and some like weird force perspective trick. Everything you see with that windmill is actually like a little tiny windmill. It's just a big camera trick. But what did you think about the mini ashes and the mirror and everything that goes down in there?
Did you think it was too silly and slapsticky?
It just looked bad. Like, there's this one part, not to get too far ahead, but one of the mini Ashes is jumping into Ash's mouth, and they use some kind of, like, rear projection shot, and, like, their hands are just, like, haphazardly placed on his face, and they're supposed to be, like, holding his mouth open. It looks terrible.
Pappy, it looks like the octopus fight from King Kong vs. Godzilla with the villagers, like, in front of the octopus.
But that we talked about, that movie had no budget. It was made in the 60s. This movie
It looks like they like try to add prosthetics to people's face to like replicate Bruce Campbell's chin and stuff too. So all of those miniature guys are like a little offsetting, off-putting or whatever when you look at them if you're like staring at them. Mm-hmm. So
like it really is a goofy sequence, and it was clever to have him like break the mirror and have all the ashes come out of that. But the part I really like about this part is when Evil Ash is coming out of his shoulder. I thought that looked cool.
Oh, did you not, Pap? The eyeball popping out?
Yeah, and he's like starts itching his shoulder, and he tears open his shirt, and the evil eyeball is popping out, and he's like, "It's growing fingers!"
Oh, is that what that was? I looked at Brittany and said, "Is that a vagina with an eyeball in it?" She goes, "That's what it looks like to me." So I wasn't sure what that was supposed to be.
I don't think you're too far off, but I mean, like the whole reason that Ash is growing inside of him is because we said that one of the little Ashes dive bombs in his throat. To try and kill him, Ash like drinks a bunch of boiling water.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's so many like little one-offs in this scene. It's like a story within its own story. They like Gulliver's Travels tie down the giant at one point.
Or Willow.
He steps on a
That's
nail.
my favorite one, Mikey. Like the fee-fi-fo-fum.
London Bridge is falling down. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of good comedic bits. It's part of the movie where it gets a little bit goofy, a little bit broad for me. Some of the stuff that happens there. I'd also say that the evil Ash, like I mentioned, the little goody two shoes part is a little bit too much for me. It goes on for a little bit too long. But I mean, overall, I think Bruce Campbell's performance is pretty amazing. He's being asked to do a lot. One of those little evil ashes, the body was actually played by the UPS guy from Legally Blonde, if you guys have seen that. But he's asked to do like the little ashes, be Bruce Campbell, the superstar Ash, and also Evil Ash. Brett, did you like his performance as Evil Ash? Did it go too far in a few places for you, as George Lucas would say?
I'm with you. Like, I feel like this part in the lighthouse and then the Evil Ash thing kind of took me out of the movie a little bit. Which is crazy because I feel like it could have been cut, but then that movie would have been like an hour and 5 minutes. I don't know. It was okay. It was like I'm having more fun. I hate to be like Jordan here, but I'm having more fun talking about those two parts than I did watching them.
I find it parallel to him in Evil Dead 2 chopping off his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's just not as good as that.
I think it's kind of weak because the mere ashes are actually end up being like the big bad, and your introduction to him is just kind of like this goofy. And even when he turns into the single evil Ash, like Pap said, he gives us like you're a goody little two shoes spiel, which lasts like 45 seconds.
It's way too long. Yeah,
and he's supposed to be the bad.
I mean, he eventually gets his face shot by that same boomstick that Ash had earlier, and gets dismembered and buried. And like by the time he starts to rot, I think his character's a lot more interesting because he's more interesting to look at. Like when he's like Sally Forth, and like his jaw like comes out of place. Like it's pretty awesome. But yeah, I think when it's just like kind of the reverse shot, and not to harp on the practical effects, but sometimes when Ash has that like prosthetic head popping out of his head, it looks cool, but it does look kind of fake for the time. But we mentioned there were 3 books. Ash eventually gets down to the right book, but he doesn't say the 3 magic words right. Does anybody remember those magic words, by the way?
No.
Just out of curiosity.
Bareka Karana Nikidi.
Very clear.
That part made me laugh. I like that.
Varada Niktu. And those are actually from the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still. That's what they say to like activate or deactivate the robot. I forget which one. Not the Keanu one, the one from the 50s. But really cool shout out there. But because Ash didn't say these words correctly, the army of dead now starts to march on the castle, and Ash heads back to try and get back to where he came from.
Pap, your spoiler though. That's intentional in this movie. Is that a joke?
The N-word part?
Yeah.
I don't think it's supposed to be. I really don't. But I mean, looking at it now, it's hard not when you hear someone say the N-word, your mind automatically jumps to a place. But I really don't think that's what they meant in the late 80s, but maybe. I don't know. What do you think, Josh?
Well, it's 92, and sometimes it feels like this movie is from the 70s while you're watching it. So I honestly don't know. It's hard to believe that it wasn't on purpose.
Stevie, what do you think?
I don't think it was on purpose. I just think, I mean, this is probably written in the late 80s, shot in the early 90s. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd have a tough time believing they'd throw that in there. But, I mean, if you look at it through today's lens, I mean, you'd probably say that if it was made today, but back then, probably not. Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous to hear, like I said, but I don't think it was intentional or racy or anything like that. But we haven't talked about the character of Sheila at all.
Sheila.
Mikey, how would you describe Sheila to the audience? Miss Honey from Matilda.
Yeah, Brittany said, she looks familiar. Is she from Matilda? I've never seen it.
Yeah, she, first of all, she's a babe. She is, I don't know. From the beginning of the movie, she has like a boyfriend or something that's killed, who is also like part of the group that was enslaved with Bruce Campbell's character. And when they all get back to the castle, she thinks Bruce Campbell is one of the people that killed her boyfriend or husband or whatever. So she hates Ash, and she ends up realizing that Ash is like the chosen one, and he's come back from the future. And so I guess she kind of like forgives him throughout the course of the movie. But then she is captured by one of these flying goblins, and then she's taken away to Evil Ash's location.
Why did they capture her? What was the purpose of that? Stevie, any theories?
Evil Ash probably had the hots for her and wanted to turn her evil.
Listen, everyone else was running away, and she was not doing a very good job of moving. I think that
that was the slowest bat creature I've ever seen. He was moving like a half a mile an hour.
A simple tuck and roll, she probably would have evaded.
Absolutely.
Probably.
Do you guys think that she's a pretty hollow character overall? I mean, she's pretty just...
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you looking for depth in Army of Darkness,
No,
Josh?
but I thought it was funny that,
me.
like, Pap asked Mikey to describe her character, and it's like, well, she's the woman, Sam Raimi.
She's the damsel in distress.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I mean, she's not a bad actress. Yeah, she does a good job, I think.
You should check her career. She's had a pretty good one.
And she also gets naked in a movie. It's pretty sexy. Schindler's List.
A lot of them. She gets naked in this, somewhat in the director's cut of this
Thanks
movie.
for talking over my joke there.
Were you going to say it's sexy when she gets naked in Schindler's List?
Oh, jeez. That's a good thing I cut it off then.
I did say that, but Brett talked right over the top of me. Might have to fix that in post in multiple ways.
Moving right along. Either way, because she's kidnapped, Ash gives an inspirational speech, and now he's all in on fighting the army of the dead. They soup up Sam Raimi's old Oldsmobile to turn into like a twisted metal death machine with like a blade on the front.
Yeah, they attach a helicopter to the top.
Pretty badass. And we see
Pat,
the army.
did you love the crowds in this movie?
All the extras and stuff, like the army of the dead. And
There's
everything.
this great one-off when Ash comes back with the book, and everyone's like, he did it, the chosen one's back. And he's like, well, I didn't exactly say it right, send me back. He's like, we had a deal, send me back. And everyone gets really mad at him, and there's like this little one-off where the guy in the back goes, I thought he was a chosen one. It just kind of...
Apparently, I was watching this making of documentary, and there were tons of issues with the extras on set. Like, they were always like partying, or like two of them got caught like having sex, like right behind like one of the scenes and stuff. Like, Bruce Campbell was like, it was just a mess with these people.
Yeah, Sam Raimi's like, take this seriously, and then he shoots one of the scenes from this movie.
Right.
Yo, she bitch.
He shoots Three Stooges like skeleton ghost poking eye scene. Take this seriously, guys. But
We're making art.
This movie like moves like by at a blistering pace. We're already at like the final battle here. Josh, what stuck out to you from the final battle as the Army of the Dead approaches to try and get back the Necronomicon?
Yeah, I think the first thing that sticks out is the mixture of type of effects used in the Army of the Dead. We got claymation sort of bones. We got people dressed up as bones. We got actual physical effects bones. One thing that I thought, like, I would have liked to see even more bones exploding with
bones.
Who keeps saying stuff?
Bone Thugs in Harmony.
For as many bones as they showed exploding and busting apart, I thought that could have been like even more violent and crazy at that point. But basically, the main bad is leading this army towards the castle, and Arthur and his knights and Bruce Campbell and etc. have all battened down the hatches and are like ready to defend the fortress. And Bad Ash is like, all that matters is like the book to him, right? So like
the Necronomicon.
Yeah, and I think the humans realize that if he gets it, they're screwed either way. So they have to make this like final stand. So I think that's like plot wise what's happening here.
Yeah, they have boom bows from Fortnite, thanks to the Chemistry 101 book found in Sam Raimi's Oldsmobile. I like the skeletons playing instruments too. That was pretty hilarious, like little bone flutes, little bone bagpipes.
Josh, you're a big Lord of the Rings fan, right?
Love Lord of the Rings.
So you could see where Peter Jackson drew from Sam Raimi and Army of Darkness for Helm's Deep,
well,
right? It had a very similar feel.
With Eric the Red returning at dawn.
Had a very similar feel.
You know, I think that may have actually been written by Tolkien before the movie.
Fighting on the stairs, you know. people leading jackass shit at this point in the movie. Like, it was great tense build up.
Honestly, yeah, and I think that movie specifically makes this movie look a lot worse because everything's so perfect and polished, and that Helm's Deep battle, and it is basically the same battle, but on like such a grander scale that you wouldn't even imagine as possible watching this movie.
And also utilizes a lot of practical effects, like in this movie too. So I mean, that's just why it's so legendary. But
I also, sorry to interrupt, Pap, I thought it was really neat what Raimi did when the dead was charging the castle, it was playing really chaotic music. Then when it would cut to Bruce Campbell, it was complete silence. And he did that with 6 cuts. I thought it was a really neat trick he used.
Mm-hmm. And I also like the symmetry too, because as Ash is fighting evil Ash, he cuts off his arm in a very Star Wars-esque way, but it mirrors kind of what Ash had to do in Evil Dead 2 to finally free the Necronomicon. But long story short, that's kind of the end of this part of the movie. Like I said, he cuts off his arm. He retrieves the Necronomicon, and evil Ash gets shot off a catapult and blown up. The Lord Arthur and Duke Henry reconcile, and Ash is kind of sent back to his previous time. Before we go back to kind of the end of this movie, was there anything from the Middle Ages that I breezed over that you guys want to talk about?
Yeah, just that I think that Arthur is probably the only character with an arc in this movie. He starts off at the beginning of the movie, he basically enslaves Bruce Campbell just because he wants to. Like, he knows full well he's not part of Eric the Red's army, but he takes him in anyway. And he goes from that to actually hugging Eric the Red at the end. So I thought that was kind of nice.
It's I feel like there's got to be more geopolitical implications of that. Like, those two nations were warring for a reason, and now they're just we're buddies now. We don't need that tax money. It doesn't matter that you slaughtered our innocents. It's all good. It's the way Game of Thrones should have ended, fighting the Nightwalkers at Winterfell.
Well, and the way that Arthur is portrayed in this, it's a pretty good looking dude, I think, playing him, but
the dude has a Lloyd Christmas
it is the
mullet.
worst
You're calling him a good looking dude.
That's his hair was awful. His face is good looking, but
his hair is flowing.
Sorry, I can't get a joke out today without someone. No, that was it. His hair is the worst ever. That's literally the joke.
Arthur? Well won, my friend. We've won the day!
So, the movie now has a major divergence from the original cut. Apparently, in the original director's cut,
really?
We're going to watch this as a deleted scene, but Ash gets the potion to send him back to the future. He drinks too much of it and is teleported to a post-apocalyptic world.
Oh, God.
Where he realized, I slept too long! He sees England in chaos, there's a Big Ben falling and stuff. And so it's supposedly that was going to set up for the next installment of this franchise where he used robots to battle the legions of Necronomicons. But Mikey, what ending do we get here? The last part of any Evil Dead movie that we'll do on this podcast.
Yeah, he wakes up in an S-Mart, or he's transported there? I don't
He's
remember,
telling the story to Ted Raimi, who played 4 parts in this movie, including the disinterested S-Mart clerk.
Yeah, he's retelling his adventure. I don't think Ted Raimi believes him at all. But he goes through this whole story of him going back in time, and nobody believes him, and a little time passes by, and then in the sort of the middle of the movie, this witch just pops up out of nowhere and kind of starts destroying stuff and attacking everybody in the middle of S-Mart, and he kind of whips out an S-Mart branded rifle and just goes to town on her while she's flipping through the air and stuff. And he's got a pretty awesome last line.
Hail to the king, baby.
As he's kissing this girl, and it's the last Ash versus Evil Dead before. I don't know. Is the TV show canon?
I don't know, but I mean, it's apparently like Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi weren't very enthusiastic about this ending. They liked what they had done originally, but I mean, to think that there would be no "Hail to the King, Baby" or no "Name's Ash, Housewares," like those are fucking classic lines. Like, I don't know. Did it? I mean, Stevie, did it feel like he was phoning it in for this last scene? I like it. I like the idea of the original ending more, but I don't mind this one.
I don't mind this one at all. I mean, I saw this movie when I was around 6 years old, and it's like the only ending I truly knew until like YouTube.
Yeah.
And so like the name's Ash Houseware stuck with me for the longest time. Like I thought that was like, as a young kid, I thought name's Ash Housewares was like Yeah. I thought that was like the coolest line ever spoken in film to that point. So I really like appreciate and love this ending.
It'd be all right if they actually went through and made another movie. I mean, it wouldn't be bad, but it's pretty old. Setting something up. But
I mean, the way this franchise works, they could just use the original ending and then recap everything to that point, and everyone would be like, okay,
exactly.
I guess this is what's happening now. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I like about the ending, though, is that it kind of starts to seem like, oh, this is going to be a commentary on just like how boring normal American jobs are, that you're just like fantasizing about going back in time. And then it's like, nope, this is zany Army of Darkness, and we got one more witch fight.
Hey, Stevie.
Yeah.
Did you recognize the girl at the end that he kind of tries to hook up with, that S-Mart from Friends?
Mm-mm.
I recognize her right away. She's the...
I don't watch Friends.
Oh, I thought you loved Friends.
No.
Mikey loves Friends.
Okay, well, she's from Wedding Singer then.
Fuck no.
Whoa.
She's the one Adam Sandler leaves in Wedding Singer, or vice versa. Yeah.
Oh, that's Linda?
Yep. She's also she's an episode of Seinfeld in The Maid.
Oh yeah.
Or the housekeeper, or the housemaid, or something.
No, not Linda.
I knew I recognized her.
Yeah, not Linda. It's the chick at the end who's like, I like that story.
No, it's Linda. It's the one who leaves him.
Oh, Linda in Wedding Singer, not this movie.
Yes.
That's Peter Fonda's daughter?
No.
It's Peter Fonda's daughter.
Bridget Fonda's at the beginning. The chick from Wedding Singer's at the end.
Oh, what's her name?
Gotcha.
Do you know it? Never mind.
And Angela Featherstone.
That's a name.
Yeah, it is.
That's a name.
Carries as much weight as Fonda in Hollywood, I'm sure. But let's get on to our final thoughts here. Before we get into yes or no's, anything that we missed, I have a couple quick ones. The March of the Dead theme was written by Danny Elfman, and this movie puts Sam Raimi in the Three Movie Club, tying Miyazaki and Taika Waititi for third all time on this podcast. But any other points that you guys wanted to talk about?
I love that first witch fight where he blasts her without looking, and it's like over his shoulder, and then he has like a shiver.
That's the Bruce Lee.
That's so funny.
That's when Mr. Pitt like appears behind her too, and she's like collapsing. And he's like, "You must get the Necronomicon."
I have a question for you guys. What order did you guys watch The Evil Dead's in?
This was the first one I've seen.
Same.
So you guys started with Army of Darkness?
Yeah.
I started with 2, obviously.
Yeah, see, that's how I started too. And like the Army of Darkness, Bruce Campbell was like how I always envisioned Ash. And because I was so young, I was only allowed to watch Army of Darkness. And that's why I was kind of confused going from like 2 to 1 of like how much tamer he was. And it makes me appreciate this movie even more.
Mm-hmm. I kind of get the feeling if I'd go back and watch the first Evil Dead, I would not like it very much now.
Yeah,
especially after these last 2 years.
Yeah, I think a lot of its like kind of mistakes would be exposed by seeing the next 2, just by the nature of the beast.
Yeah, one of the IMDb facts is that there's a Topher Grace-esque supercut exists of these 3 movies, if you know Where to Sail the High Seas, and it's supposed to be pretty good, actually, to watch. That kind of blends the 3 and like glosses over, obviously, the recap parts. But speaking of what I would have hated the first movie, let's get into our yes or no, our binary rating system. I'll go first. This is going to be a yes for me. I'm really pumped that like we set out to do all of the Evil Dead movies, and we did over the course of 3 years. I think that's a pretty cool accomplishment. And but moreover, like learning about this, there's a really good documentaries out there, especially like on the Blu-ray and stuff. But learning about this was like the opposite of learning about The Room for me, the last movie that I hosted, where like the more I got into it, the greasier and seedier and gross like everything about that production kind of became to me and like tainted it. Like this movie is so happy, and like it was a hard production, like no one denies that, but everyone seems so happy making it. It's so silly, it's so goofy, and I just feel like there's this kind of like joy of making movies with your friends that like emanates out of all of these movies, but especially this one, like in the silliness. So hard yes for me. And probably an average middle of the road movie if I was going to give it like a score, but I love watching this. I could watch this all day. Let's keep it in the trivia order. Brett, how about you? Yes or no?
I was hoping you'd come to me last.
Well, you hope wrong, friend.
Jeez.
Just say your no and move on.
I'm thinking. Brittany said, "You're going to give this a yes, aren't you?" I said, "I don't know." She goes, "I'll be really disappointed in you if you do."
What? First Vision Quest, now Army of Darkness?
Brett is the positive host in the history of spoilers, by the way, for the audience, if this is your first episode. But one of the only movies he ever gave no to was Evil Dead 2. So this is...
Let's see, if I give it
very critical.
No, you guys will hate me like you did last time. And if I give it a yes, you'll be like, "Oh, look, typical Brett. He likes it again."
You do you, Brett.
You do you.
You do you.
Oh, man. I will give this the softest of yeses. Because I thought it was... I actually laughed out loud a few times. I mean, let's not get it wrong. This movie is god-awful. But it's awesome at the same time. I didn't feel that way about the second movie at all. I hated every second of the second movie, except for the groovy scene's pretty cool, classic, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But this film was... I enjoyed watching this movie. It's not good. I mean, it's one of those so bad it's good. And I like Bruce Campbell, so I'll give it a very, very soft yes.
It's 2 yeses. Josh.
One thing that confuses me about this movie is what kind of audience is it for? It's either got to be for, like, the super savvy moviegoer that sees all these different effects and knows it's supposed to be schlucky, so they just, like, enjoy it. Or it's for someone so dumb that all that stuff in 1992 is actually tricking them. So, I feel like 99% of the population fits in the middle of that.
Or maybe Evil Dead fans?
Well, how much of the population are huge Evil Dead fans, like 7 years after that movie? Like, I don't know.
We out here.
A lot of white dudes in their 30s and 40s.
I think also, like, this movie does feel like it's from early 80s or 70s, and in 1992, The Last of the Mohicans came out, which puts this movie to shame visually, I guess, but I guess kind of what Brett is getting at is this movie is just a joy to watch. And that's kind of like unlike Last of the Mohicans, which is not like a huge joy to watch.
I love that movie so much.
If you Google movies from 1992, like all these classic movies show up, but if you go under the adventure part, it's Fern Gully, then Army of Darkness, baby. So,
let's go.
I'm gonna have to get
Let's go.
Army of Darkness. A yes.
Nice. There we go. 3 yeses. Yeah, you had a good point there, too. You know, what year did Jurassic Park come out? 93? 94?
93 or 94.
Yeah.
93.
Bruce Campbell talks about this in the extras, but this is like one of the last bastions of the practical effects movie. Like, if you know how Jurassic Park got made, they used digital and practical and ended up going with digital. So, like, this is like those stupid, like, rear projection shots. Those are literally the last time you'll see those in like a major studio film. So it's kind of nostalgic in a way. But Mikey, you love practical effects. I have a feeling you love this movie. What's your yes or no?
Yeah, I think this movie is funny, and I'm sure you watched the same special feature about the practical effects too. But yeah, they do a lot of stuff with that. The scenes with the skeletons in the Army of Darkness going towards the castle, and it's really cool. There's like a lot of mix. There's a bunch of different effects that they used to kind of make that happen. So it's really cool to see. And the guy in charge was Greg Nicotero, and he's the guy that was in charge of The Walking Dead for like the longest time. So it's cool to see like what these guys like kind of started out doing. I mean, before they like really made it big. So it's cool to see them all working on this before they really were famous. So yeah, I love this movie. I think Ash/Bruce Campbell is like so charismatic. He's like the king of one-liners. He's so funny in this movie, and he's got a great head of hair. He
really does.
Awesome. And he's so cool when he's cocking the shotgun and just blasting people. And he's just really he's the crutch of the whole movie. He really holds the whole thing together, and he really makes it work because it's a blend of like being goofy, being sort of serious, and also just like having fun with these effects. It's not supposed to be taken seriously, and I don't think anybody that's watching this and enjoys it is taking it seriously. So I think it's just meant to be a fun movie, and if you're going in with that mindset, you're going to have a lot of fun with it. So I give it a yes.
Well, speaking of great head of hair, Stevie, will you make Army of Darkness the first movie in the Evil Dead franchise for us to be preserved?
What do you think?
I think it's a hard yes.
This is one of the hardest of yeses I can give a movie on spoilers. I think like a lot of it has to do with I watched it at such a young age, and I thought Ashley Williams was a superhero growing up. His one-liners are just absolutely hysterical. And one we skipped over is when he calls Henry the Red Mr. Fancy Pants. And he's like, I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but two things right now. Jack and shit.
So
Jack left town. I love that line. The practical effects are awesome. The camera work is really cool. And just, I mean, the first two movies are B movies, so why wouldn't the third one be? Like, this is just a fun B movie. It's not meant to be taken seriously at all. And I'm with Mikey. Like, Bruce Campbell is the man in this movie, so hardest of yeses.
Well, there you go. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses. What does that make that? Some medieval wine that's aged really finely?
He's eating some pretty good-looking chicken when he's got those big, large-breasted women
that's a
around
human
him.
leg. He's eating a human leg.
Yeah.
I love it's some crusty medieval bread. I love when that old lady's like, into the pit with those sons of whores.
That's the first time like he's a huge jerk too, because the female lead, whatever it's Sheila, comes in there and he goes, "First you loved me, now you hate me. Blow."
I don't understand that line. Is he saying blow me? Is he saying blow off? What is he? What
Get
does
out
that
of
mean?
here.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't he say first you hate me, then you want to do me or something? I thought he said something more sexual than that, but...
Yeah, something.
Now you want to love me or something?
Something like
yeah,
that.
that sounds right.
Yeah.
Love me or lay me or something.
Well, speaking of the segment on this podcast that everybody loves and wants to lay, we have the trivia, and let me wheel out for the third year in a row, our giant spooky spoilers board. 3 years ago, I wrote 69 questions for spooky trivia.
Nice.
And we've made it through 20 in 3 years. And so we're going to just keep using the same list of questions that I wrote 3 years ago for the first Evil Dead trivia. I'm going to start from the bottom of the list. And for those of you listening to the Evil Dead 2 episode, it's going to be the same trivia format. So they're multiple choice. Each of our contestants get a strike, a 50-50, and a pass. So 2 strikes, you're out. You can miss 1 question, but you also have 2 lifelines, a 50-50, and a pass. The order will stay the same as what we've been doing. It's Brett, Josh, Mikey, Stevie. Last man standing wins. No need to prove it, hence the advantage going last. Stevie. Also, because these questions were predetermined, would you like to make any adjustments to that order? Brett, Josh, Mikey, Stevie. Or are you good with that?
Sounds good to me. What happens if you pass and the next person gets it right?
Then the next question... So if you passed, the question would go to Brett. If you got it right, then the next question would just go to Josh. So it just keeps trucking on.
Oh, so there's no strike against you if I pass and Brett gets it right?
What is the lifeline?
The 50-50 or the pass. So you can pass 1 question on...
Oh, those are the lifelines. Got it.
Yeah, and a 50-50. And beer league softball rules, 2 strikes, you're out. So
I can't phone a friend because you guys are my friends.
First question 69 on the giant spooky spoilers trivia board goes to Brett. Brett, how many fun-sized candy bars would it take to poison a 180-pound person?
Oh my god. Holy crap.
110, 197, 269, or 375?
Nice.
Yeah, that was so funny 3 years ago.
I'm gonna pass.
Great use of the lifeline. Keep track of your own lifelines, please. If you cheat, I will realize when I edit this and be very disappointed in you. Josh?
You said it's one pass, 150-50.
Right, yep. So
correct.
Brett's
Cool.
down a
Thank
pass. How many fun-sized candy bars would it take to poison a 180-pound person? 110, 197, 269, 375.
Okay. Is this the same question list that you had the ghost things about? Do they?
Yes.
There's no freebies. The only freebie was question 13, which took 2 years to get picked, and then it wasn't as funny
I
as
just
I
have
thought it
very
would
fond
be.
memories of that question.
Back in 2017.
I'll say
It's a different
B.
time.
I'll say B, Pat.
I'm sorry, it's a strike for Josh. I like the strategy, but no, the correct answer was actually 269 candy bars would poison a 180-pound person.
269? The 69 was the answer?
Well, that's probably why I picked this
You
question.
slow roller.
Or one Snickers with a razor blade in it.
There you go.
So Brett's down a pass, Josh is down a strike. Mikey, this next question's to you. How many people were executed during the Salem witch trials? Less than 50, 50 to 100, 100 to 200, or more than 200?
Well, we were pretty crazy back then. I'm going to go more than 200.
More than 200 people were accused, but actually less than 50 were actually executed.
Oh.
So-
Yeah, Sandy Hook was worse than the Salem witch trials.
Jesus Christ.
I'm serious.
I'm glad it's late in the episode, but that's a strike for Mikey, a strike for Josh, and Brett has used his pass. Stevie,
What's happening?
what was the top grossing spooky film of 2015? Was it was it Goosebumps, It Follows, Insidious Chapter 3, or Unfriended?
Unfriended.
See, that's a dumb thing. I think it's going to be one of those dumb movies like Unfriended. It's like one of those Facebook movies, I think, where the Facebook person comes alive and kills people. I don't want to strike, but I also don't want to use a pass. I'll pass Alina.
Okay, that passes back to Brett. Top grossing spooky film of 2015. Ghostbusters, spoilers pick It Follows, Insidious Chapter 3, or Unfriended?
Didn't you say Goosebumps
You
the
said
first
Goosebumps.
time?
Sorry, Goosebumps. What did I say?
Ghostbusters.
Oh, sorry, Goosebumps. Sorry, I think I had Brett on the
so
brain. Yeah,
Goosebumps.
It Follows, Insidious Chapter 3, or Unfriended?
I'm going to say Goosebumps.
That would be correct.
Nice.
Okay, so...
I'm keeping track, by the way, if anybody cares.
Okay. Josh, you're down a strike.
Mm-hmm.
What was the top grossing spooky film of 2005? Saw 2, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, The Ring 2, or Alone in the Dark?
Those first three. What are the first three again?
Saw 2, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, or The Ring 2?
That's a tough one.
I'm risking my second strike here, but I'll say Saw 2.
That was a great gamble. Josh, you maintain your 2 lifelines. Mikey, what was the top grossing spooky film of 2017? I put all these at the end. Was it A?
Oh my God.
Sorry, all right. 2017. Annabelle Creation, Split, It, or Get Out?
Oh.
Split it, get out.
Split It, Get Out.
Cut it out.
2017.
I'll use the 50-50, and I'm hoping you're going to be easy on the 50-50, because I got it down to 2.
Boop. 2 spoilers movies. Was it Split or It?
I'm going to say It.
Mikey stays in the game. Mikey, have you used any lifelines yet?
No.
The 50-50.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, 50-50. Guess I'm not keeping track that well.
All right, Stevie, you used your pass. What was the top grossing spooky film of 2009? Is it Paranormal Activity, The Final Destination, Drag Me to Hell, or Saw 6?
Paranormal Activity.
Correct, Stevie, with confidence.
Saw that opening night, baby. That movie was
No
awesome.
hesitation.
All right, Back
How many Saws have there been?
a lot.
Saw
Lots.
6, my
8.
God.
I think there's been 8 Saws, Mikey.
Jeez.
Okay, wraps back around to Brett. Oh man, this is kind of tough. In what 1993 month was The Nightmare Before Christmas released? September, October, November, or December?
Man, I was just doing research on this movie earlier. I've never seen it though.
What?
I know. I will do 50-50.
His last lifeline.
Boop, boop. October or November?
Crap. October.
Nice job, Brett. Staying alive.
That's tough.
Okay.
October.
Next is Josh. Ratu Udre. He is the 19th century Phoenician chief. Let me start over. Ratu Udre, the 19th century Phoenician chief, holds the world record you may have never known existed until now. Most prolific cannibal. I don't know if that was like editorial that I added.
What?
So, 19th century Phoenician chief, world record for most prolific cannibal. How many victims does he claim? 19, 99, 599, or 999?
Pass.
Okay. Passes.
Jeez.
He wasn't even messing around with that.
Passes to Mikey. Ratu Udre, most prolific cannibal. 19, 99, 599, 999. Tasty spoiler men that he ate.
That's terrifying.
Can I also pass? Can I?
Oh
You can
yeah.
pass the
you have a
pass.
pass
Yeah,
left.
that's definitely part of the game.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So Stevie,
Last lifeline.
Udre, 1999, 599, 999.
You guys make me sad. You guys don't know this, but I also live with a wife who loves nothing but people to watch shows about people that murder other people. So, what was the highest one, Pap?
999.
That's it, 999.
That is absolutely correct.
Yep.
Dude, that motherfucker ate 1,000 spoiler men.
Dude, believe me, I have nightmares when I go to bed because my wife only watches serial killer stuff and stuff like that. So
we watch this stuff too.
All right.
it's terrifying. But yeah, that was $9.99.
Quick, we're back at the top of the order. Just say what you have left. Brett, what do you have left?
I have no lifelines and 2 strikes.
Okay. Josh,
50-50 and 1 strike.
Mikey,
No lifelines, 1 strike.
Stevie.
50-50, 2 strikes left.
Back to Brett. What was the top grossing spooky film of 2010? Was it Saw 3D, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Hatchet 2, or Paranormal Activity 2?
Oh, dang!
All winners.
I'm going to. Man, I feel like A and D are both. I'm gonna go Saw 3D.
Sorry, that's a strike. You were right.
Crap.
It was D, Paranormal Activity
Paranormal,
2.
dang it.
No. What's a strike for Brett? Josh,
Is he out?
what is...
I have one more
yeah,
strike.
One more
Sorry.
strike left.
Should have paid attention.
Josh, what is the original Halloween's rating on Letterboxd? This is out of 5. 3.6, 4.0, 4.5, or 4.9? That is a brutal question. That was 2017. Pappy was an angry young man writing that question.
Why are we so angry?
I don't know.
Does the question have anything to do with the anger?
No, they're just like all the answers are like bunched up. 3.6, 4.0, 4.5, or 4.9. The original Halloween's Letterboxd rating out of 5.
Man, I think that's a highly revered movie, but to be a 4.9 is just ridiculous. So I'll go the one just under that. I'll say a 4.5.
Fortunately, that would be your second strike, right?
Yeah.
Yep, he's out.
Yeah, you're out. It was a 4.0 on Letterboxd, released in 2017.
That's tough.
What would
know
the
if it is
50-50
anymore.
have been?
Boop. 4.0 or 4.5.
Ah. 50-50 is worthless.
That's the computer, man.
Oh, what a dick.
All right, Mikey, still in the game. I remember these questions. According to Cosmopolitan magazine, what was the most popular Halloween costume of 1990? Mario, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Batman, or The Little Mermaid?
Of what year?
Man, those are all
1990.
massive that year. Yikes.
Batman.
Unfortunately, it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
What?
Is that your first strike?
Oh, that seems so
No,
difficult.
Mikey's out.
Mikey's
I'm
out.
Pappy
Okay.
just doesn't get it. He doesn't get the Ninja Turtles. Doesn't get it.
I wrote all the. These are all Pappy original questions. I wrote all of these and the choices by myself, like a madman. All right, Stevie, you have a strike and a 50-50 left.
Nope.
I have no strike.
He has
Right,
no
yeah.
strikes
Let's
and
go.
a 50-50. He's in huge lead.
On a non-leap year, what number day of the year is Halloween? So if January 1st was 1, January 2nd is 2, what number day of the year is Halloween on a non-leap year? Jesus Christ. 305, 309, 316, or 317?
God bless America. 9 out of, okay, what were they?
305, 309, 316, 317.
Let's go with John 316.
I'm sorry, that's your first strike. It's the 305th day of the year.
Dang.
So, Brett, no strikes, no lifelines left.
No, I have one strike and no lifelines left. This is my last
Right.
chance.
Okay, last dance. Got to raw dog this one. What was the top grossing spooky film of 2002? The Ring, Resident Evil, Fear.com, or Queen of the Damned?
Oh, man. Those are all terrible,
All
terrible
Criterion
movies.
releases.
Dude, The Ring was good.
The ring
I've
was
never
good.
seen any of them. Just messing around.
Gore Verbinski.
So, one more time.
The Ring, Resident Evil, Fear.com, or Queen of the Damned?
I'm going to say The Ring.
That would be a good guess. The Ring,
Yep.
Gore Verbinski 2 Movie Club was the top grossing spooky film of 2002. All right, Stevie, similar question. What was the top grossing spooky film of 2016? The Conjuring 2, Don't Breathe, The Purge Election Year, or Goosebumps?
Keep forgetting Goosebumps was a movie.
I know, spooky movie.
You're using Goosebumps twice?
Yeah, apparently I did.
Let's go 50-50.
Okay. Boop, boop. The Conjuring or The Purge Election Year? The Conjuring 2 or The Purge Election Year?
Let's say The Conjuring 2.
Great job, Stevie. Yep,
Crap.
The Conjuring 2. Goosebumps made a lot of money in 2016, but it made most of its money in 2015. I left myself a note for that, so glad I did that. Brett,
You're a madman, sir.
Brett, this is do or die time. You v Stevie. What year did Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School come out? 1977, 1979, 1983, or 1988?
Okay, yeah, I got 25% chance, I guess.
You haven't seen Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School?
If I did, it was a long time ago. Okay, Ghoul School. Let's see. Scooby-Doo came out in 1969.
Nice.
Doesn't really have anything to do with that. I just know it's celebrating its 50th birthday.
77,
Wow.
79, 83, or 88?
Well, that's my brother was born in 83. Let's go 83.
And Stevie is your next host on
Hootie
Spoilers. Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School came out in 1988. We still have
Jeez, thanks, Brian.
20 questions left on the Spooky Trivia
Shoot me
Spoilers
one, Pap.
board.
Shoot me one.
We won't. All right, you want one more? This
Yeah,
doesn't-
we do.
Doesn't count for anything, but the next one would have been. I lost it, so let's kick it to Spoiler Man. And I deleted the column that I was marking them off in. Sorry about that. Okay, so we'll take a Spoiler Man, and we'll come back. Stevie will have his pick for the next Spooky Spoilers movie we'll do.
Spoiler Man here. Our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is Podcast Spoilers. It's lit. Josh Hensley from the Rutabaga wrote our theme song. Our spoilers hotline is 903-776-4507. That's 903-SPOIL07.
Okay, and we're back. Thank you, Spoiler Man. Stevie, let's keep the spooky train a-rolling. What's our next movie we're going to review?
Yeah, let's do a movie that I thought kind of like wrecked me as a child because I saw it way too young. This little bastard haunted my dreams for a long time, and his name was Chucky. So let's do the original Child's Play.
That cannot possibly be scary anymore.
Brett, I was like 4 when I saw it.
I'm saying I hope it's not, because I won't be able to... Yeah. But yeah, I'm pumped for this.
Well, we'll see if Brett is able to handle the spookiness.
Oh, wait. Oh, next Thursday? Yeah, I won't be on next Thursday, so it doesn't matter.
All right, well, thank you for listening. We'll see if Brett's on next Thursday or whenever this episode comes out. That was Spooky Spoilers.
Cue.
Actually, I was out. I got out on the last time we did this, Pappy, on one that it was into the second year that a movie was out, and I guessed it because it was a big movie. It was like one of the Saw movies, and it was big the year before, and it was like much smaller the next year. So I was like, oh, it's got to be this one. But
okay,
I got out on that last time.
For the end of the podcast, Stevie, who's the most prolific serial killer in American history? John Wayne Gacy, Pedro Lopez, Ted Bundy, or Gary Ridgway?
I know it.
Stevie?
Let's go Gary Ridgway.
It is.
Yep.
The Green River Killer.
Proved it, too.
He also had like an IQ of like 72.
That's always fun.
And he killed hookers, and he used to leave his daughter or kid or whatever in the car when he'd go out and kill them, and then he'd come back later and have sex with them again. But,
It's a fun story. We should just spoil that. All right, Stevie, you ready?
Yeah, hold on. Give me 1 second here. Okay, yeah, let's do it.